All right, New Jersey Congressman Chris Smith on Tuesday offered a unanimous consent resolution for the House to pass the No Taxpayer Funding of Abortion Act. Now, this measure would make permanent the Hyde Amendment. Now, for those who may be new, the Hyde Amendment has been around since 1976. It's named for the Congressman Henry Hyde, who is now deceased. He was an Illinois Republican. This came in the wake of Roe v. Wade and abortion, elective abortions that were being funded through Medicaid. And so this prohibited, since 1976, it's been a rider, it's been an amendment to every appropriation bill that Medicaid dollars, tax dollars, would not be used to fund elective abortions. Now, this was the case until the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan signed into law on March the 11th by President Joe Biden. It's also been excluded from his federal budget. House GOP leaders have been working hard to make this an issue and to protect taxpayers from being forced into partnership with Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers. Joining me now to talk more about this is Congressman Chris Smith of New Jersey. He represents the 4th Congressional District. He is the senior member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. He is also the co-chair of the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission, the ranking member on the Congressional Executive Commission on China, and he has been a long-time champion for life, and he joins us now. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so very much, Tony. I really appreciate it. And
I just want to ask you point blank, why are the Democrats so opposed to even having a vote on whether or not taxpayers should be forced to fund abortion? As you quoted from the House floor yesterday, this was a position that Joe Biden held for years.
Matter of fact, Joe Biden even said that in one point in 1994 that he had voted for funding bans like the Hyde Amendment 50 times and said that none of us should be compelled, coerced, my words, but he said compelled, to pay for abortions and to subsidize them. He's done a complete about-face. I think it is a tragedy beyond words. And I am baffled as to why the Democrats will simply not allow an up or down vote on H.R. 18, the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act. We've got 169 co-sponsors. They could vote against it. They could speak out against it. But my concern is that they're going to do an appropriations bill, all the bills, take out all of the pro-life riders, as we call it, laws that ensure that we are not complicit by funding abortion, and then just bring it to the floor with no opportunity to vote whatsoever on the language. So it's very, very, they're trying to do it stealthily. We're trying to say, let's have a full-scale debate and vote, let the American people see it all.
Now, just so our listeners and viewers understand this, Congressman Smith, this has been the status quo for decades.
Yes, it has.
Both parties have said, yeah.
Both parties. I mean, at one point when I first got here in 1980, we had about 80 pro-life Democrats who would vote for it. But there were even people who took the other side on the right to life, who felt that taxpayers should not be, against their conscience, forced, compelled, coerced into funding abortion on demand. And now that has gone away, and a new extremism has taken hold. And we're now dealing with this situation where, absent the filibuster, with Joe Biden ready with his pen to sign the repeal of the Hyde Amendment, we really are in a very, very tough battle.
So, Congressman Smith, let me ask you a question. Why has that changed? Why is this no longer a bipartisan issue, not abortion, but simply forcing taxpayers to fund something they're morally opposed to?
Well, I think we've seen this in the states. We've seen it with the progressives. There has been the Democratic Party of old has been hijacked, in my opinion. Yes, they had pro-life Democrats for a long time in the House of Representatives. They simply don't exist anymore. They've been primaried out of their office in one election after the other. So over time, we got down to zero. And the pro-life Democrats were always a very potent force in their caucus to try to get, funding bans like the Hyde Amendment enacted into law. So there's a new extremism very unhealthy, and obviously it's deleterious to the unborn child. Joe Biden is an example. Used to be with us on the funding issue. Now he's diametrically opposed. And frankly, when you look what he's doing internationally, repealing New Mexico City and all the promotion of abortion globally and domestically by executive orders, he has become the abortion president in a very few days. And I like I said, I can't be more disappointed what has happened that he has done such an about face.
Congressman Smith, I would think the reverse or the flip side of this coin is I've also seen the Republican Party become more pro-life.
That's an excellent point. Our entire caucus conference, GOP conference, is now pro-life. It used to be that we would have 10 to 15 to 20 members of the GOP in the House of Representatives who are on the other side. So while they've become the abortion party, we have become the party of life. And I couldn't be prouder of my colleagues. We have seen a huge increase in articulate and effective pro-life women over the last election cycles, including the most recent, who they debate extraordinarily well, and they carry the debate. And it's so good to have them here. But we need to realize that we need to get to a majority in order to defend to the greatest extent possible the right to life of these innocent babies.
So this has become an issue of the party priorities. If you want pro-life policies, you have to elect Republicans who adhere to the party platform. If you want pro-abortion policies, stick with the Democratic Party. Before we run out of time, Congressman Smith, you have been a champion for human rights abroad. I want to get you to comment on the news today that Hong Kong, last edition of the pro-democracy newspaper, flew off the newsstands this morning. As a result, they're ceasing operations as a result of the crackdown under this new security law by the Communist Party.
Well, there's no doubt that Xi Jinping, the dictator of China, has methodically incarcerated, butchered, in some cases, certainly tortured people in Hong Kong and throughout China, throughout Xinjiang with the genocide that is Xi Jinping's genocide. We have a situation where it goes from bad to worse just about every single day. All while the Beijing Genocide Olympics are about to happen in the year 2022. I actually chaired a hearing about a month ago on the Lantos Commission, and we heard from very distinguished witnesses. And my point is, move to a different venue, another city, not in China, or boycott the Olympics. And some people are talking about a diplomatic boycott, which I think would be absolutely ineffective in conveying the horror of having an Olympic Games with all the fanfare. This isn't about sports. You know, Xi Jinping sees it as a political coup for him, while simultaneously there's a genocide. It's reminiscent of the Nazi Olympics in 1936.
Absolutely. Congressman Chris Smith, we're out of time. I've got to get you back on to talk more about China. We share that concern about what is happening in that country, but greater concern is that they're exporting it, and their means of repression is not staying within the borders of China. Congressman, thanks so much for your leadership here in the United States and your influence domestically and internationally. We appreciate it.
Really appreciate you. Thank you, Tony.